Hello my fellow book addicts, Megan here, and time for another book review. Today, I'm going to be talking about Inkdeath by Cornelia Funke, and this is the third and final book in the Ink World trilogy. So, not gonna lie, this one might be my least favorite in the series, which is a huge letdown because, like I said, the second one is probably my favorite out of the three books. So it did feel like kind of a letdown to go from that to this. Not to say that I hated this book, it just didn't draw me in quite as much as the previous two books. I don't know why. It just didn't grab my attention. Some parts even felt like they dragged on too long. I feel like some stuff could have potentially been cut out or shortened. Overall, it ain't my favorite out of the three. I don't want to talk about too much because I don't want to give any spoilers, but yeah, I'm glad I reread it because I could not remember a thing that happened in this. I think I remembered one thing, and that was only vaguely, but it's a spoiler, so I'm not gonna say. But everything else, it felt like I was reading it for the first time again, which is a nice experience, but yeah. I can see why I don't remember a lot of what happened, just because overall, while I did get that nice fuzzy feeling at the end of completing a series, I don't feel a lot of this is gonna stick with me like some things that happened in the other two books. I'm glad I finished it just so I could finish the series, but at the same time, I'm still kind of feeling meh, if that's making sense. Trying so hard not to go into details because I don't want to do spoilers. But yeah, just overall, as a book, it didn't overly impress me. And that's all I can really say. So without further ado, I am going to go into a more spoilery section. So if you have not finished this trilogy yet and you have any intention of doing so, highly suggest you do so now and come back after you catch up. Alright, so the first thing I need to talk about. For Reed. What the heck? I used to adore him in the previous two books. Him in this one, I was not a big fan of, which is a shame. I hate when I see characters that I love slowly fall into disfavor. I totally understand him wanting to get Dustfinger back. He was close to Dustfinger, he was his friend. I'd even go as far as to say like a father figure to him. He has done so much to try and keep Dustfinger safe once he found out that his fate was to die in the book. And here he went dying to save him. So he's gonna have that guilt. So I can't blame him too much for having Dustfinger on the brain, for wanting to bring him back, to do everything he can to bring him back, even if that means ignoring Maggie in the process. So while I was a little annoyed at just how he seemed to be like, I can't say ignoring her, but she seemed like second on his mind compared to Dustfinger, it got a little frustrating, but I couldn't blame the kid. What I could blame him for was cheating on Maggie. Yeah, he's going around kissing other girls throughout the book. I wouldn't say constantly, but it's definitely been a few girls he's been kissing. And just, I am not cool with that. I am not cool with cheating of any kind. So it's just like, okay, you know what? You are trash now. I do not like you. And then him later getting kind of possessive over Maggie. Like whenever Doria was around, him purposely making it a point to be like having his arm around her or kissing her. I don't think that kind of possessiveness is cute. I think it's as annoying as heck, especially considering both of them are still so young. So, wasn't a big fan of that. Also, I stated in my last review for Inkspell how it aggravated me, how people kept on telling Maggie, oh, girls around your age get married here, when she's only 13. Stated how I wasn't a fan of that, and that continued on into this book. And it got even worse, because just Mo and Ressa especially were being all like, oh, Maggie looks so grown up right now. It's like, she is still a child. She is still, like, literally a child. She is only 13 years old. And just, whenever I read something along those lines, it really dragged me out of the story. Like, I know it could be read as, oh, they're just realizing that their little girl isn't, like, a tiny little kid anymore. She is growing up. She is slowly becoming an adult. Like, I can get, like, that kind of reading of it, but to me, added with, oh, girls your age get married here in the last book, I'm just like, eh. It came off as kind of gross to me. And people going on about her and Fareed being, like, in love, just, I don't know if it's because I'm older now, but in most cases I can be like, okay, you know what? How do I word this? I'm not saying that it's impossible for younger people to be in love, in genuine love, and not have those feelings just be like lust and infatuation and all that. But I still think, you know, saying, oh, this 13-year-old is in love. Like, it's one thing when older protagonists are, like, in love, you know, like 16, 17, 18-year-olds. I feel like I can suspend my personal disbelief a little bit in that case. But when it's a 13-year-old, not only do I feel kind of skeeved out, but it's hard for me to suspend my disbelief on that. Especially when they've known each other, in the grand scheme of things, not that long. It's like, no, infatuation. She's infatuated with Fareed. Maybe feeling something a little deeper, but to say it's love, I feel would be pushing it, and just, that is one thing that also pulled me away from the story a bit. I'm sorry, I don't know if any of what I just said made sense. Hopefully it does. Morpheus, oh my god, I wish that we got a better ending for him. And by better I mean I wish that he had died. Just, he was so arrogant, so full of himself. I did not think it was possible for me to dislike him more than I did before I reread this book. Him going on about, oh, there's still so many unanswered questions in the story. I need to answer them because Finoglio didn't, yada yada yada. That's boring, I'm gonna make it better. It's like, how arrogant are you? It's just, ugh. He aggravated me so much, and I just wanted to see something horrible happen to him. A little disappointed that nothing did. Or even worse, I wish that Maggie had read him back into their world. I feel that would have been very poetic as well. I do have some mixed feelings about how Dustfinger was after he was brought back. I understand he has been dead a while. Naturally, if you come back from the dead, you're gonna be changed. But I feel like maybe it's because we didn't see too much from him compared to like the other two books, but just he seems so much more aloof and just, I don't know how to describe it. I mean, probably it also doesn't help that he was solely there to help Mo. So he felt more like a tool than a character. I was sad when he was brought back because it wasn't the same. And I'm not just saying that because death changes people, but he felt too different, if that makes sense. I thought it was great that Eleanor and Darius got reunited with everybody. Though it's really sad to think that her nice house with all those books are just kind of sitting there in their world now and are probably going to be forgotten about. I can only imagine the stories that the locals tell about her place and how it's probably haunted, and I'm just really curious thinking about the urban legends and stuff that probably started because of her and all of the family disappearing. I am glad that Maggie decided to end things with Fareed. Just, she's young, she can do better. Yeah, I'm glad that they didn't end up together. Also because you're 13. You're young, you're not gonna end up with the person you had a crush on when you're 13. Usually, I'm sure there's some exceptions, but whatever. And I am also glad that when we got that little epilogue, it was only a few years down the line. Maggie has her little brother, and her and Doria are kind of, I don't want to say a couple, but you know, it's hinted that they're like together in a way, or at least that's what I read between the lines. But it doesn't seem like she's married, so that's good. One last thing I want to talk about. I'm not sure how I felt about the magic. Also touching upon Dustbringer coming back as almost like a fire god, for lack of better words. Just the control and the things he could do just seemed a little too extraordinary. And the whole like seeds and the magpie turning into a magpie and Ressa being able to turn into a swift with the help of those seeds. That was interesting, but at the same time it felt like a little much. Like, I know they helped, you know, get the plot going where they're supposed to go, but it felt like such a strange thing. It felt a little too fantastical, which comes off as really weird saying considering we're in a world where there are people who can read things out of books. There are elves, fire elves, nymphs, and mystical creatures. I feel like if there was like more magic-y sort of things, it should have been more established earlier on instead of kind of thrown in the last book. And I feel like I'm bashing the book. I'm not. I didn't hate it, but just these things kind of got to me and felt strange or too much, and yeah. Like I said, I was entertained, I enjoyed it. I did not for 1 second think of DNFing it, but this is one sequel that I doubt I'm gonna pick up and reread anytime soon. I have actually considered unhauling it to bring to my used bookstore. Like I said, I don't think I'm gonna be rereading it. I'll keep the first 2 books because I love them and I can see myself rereading them, but I don't think I'm gonna be keeping Inkdeath. And yeah, that's all I have to say for this book. What everyone else think? Did you agree with me? Did you disagree? Were there some parts that you really liked that I didn't like? Let's get a discussion going. So yeah, that's it for this book review, and I hope to see you guys next time.